I think one unique detail about you that's relevant to bring up, in addition to being a ranch broker with a good deal of experience, you're also a ranch investor. I mean, you're making these investments for yourself as well. So with that, you have a good deal of knowledge and experience firsthand on kind of both sides of the ball here. So maybe you could just give the people watching sort of a do's and don'ts list of ranch investing.
Yeah. Because a lot of the experience comes from making good decisions and making some mistakes,
Learning the hard way. Yeah.
So no, it's a good thing to lean on when you're looking at ranch properties, even if you're like, well, I'm not really thinking of it as an investment. Well, still taking that approach and having that mentality is important in the consideration of part of your process. And so initially I would say, know what you need to get from your ranch. Define your win, and maybe some reality checks in there too. If you're used to investing in a different kind of portfolios or different kinds of assets, ranches will perform differently, and so you've got to know what that is. You've got to kind of be grounded into that, but you also kind of articulate that to yourself and say, what do I really want from my property? And so with that, create a plan and create a timeline. That's the biggest thing, is to sit down and understand what you need from your property, create a plan around how you're going to get there, and a time frame that you want to achieve that in. And again, there may be some reality checks in there along the way. Ranch deals don't happen overnight. Finding the right one takes time. You've got to also be willing to say no to a lot of deals. You're going to look at 100 before you say one. I'm going to look at 100. Before you say yes to one. I'm not going to send you 100, but you've got to look at everything, and you've got to just have the emotional intelligence to be able to just say, this is not for me. I know we're working toward this. We got this done. We spent this money. We've done this, and be willing to say, this is not for me. The next part of that is, in real estate, kind of one of the sayings is location. Well, in ranch investing, it's diligence. And so that's one of the unique things we bring to the table, is our very extensive diligence process that we follow to the line, and we don't compromise on that. And no matter what the ambition of the seller or the buyer is, I'm following the process. And so diligence. Know your costs. So not just like, this is how much the ranch costs, but cost to close, cost to improve, cost to hold, your overhead. Monitor your overhead at all times. Don't get too carried away with that. Do your best not to over leverage. You want to make time your friend, not your enemy. And so it's very capital intensive, which is why a lot of people don't do it. I would say kind of best case scenario is cash buyers, and if they want to do improvements, you could take out a equity out of the property to pay for those improvements. That's kind of like the risk tolerance that there should be with leverage on a property, because again, ranches don't sell overnight. And so I tell people, at a minimum, be prepared to hold it for 2 years at a minimum. Ideally, you'll buy it 1 year. You'll start improvements on that year to prep it for the market for the following season. But you want to give yourself the latitude to be able to monitor the market and to bring it on at the best time. And so if you're over leveraged on it, and the overhead and the cost to carry is a burden, that's a problem. And so monitor that closely. Know the ceiling. And what I mean by that is, when you're looking at implementing improvements to the property and you're going to have to spend out-of-pocket money to get there, when you're assessing your cost, there's only so much money that can be spent that can be returned. There's a ceiling out there. It's invisible, but there's a market absorption rate where no matter what you do to the property, it's only ever going to sell for a set amount. So understand what that is, and don't be so arrogant to think that you can beat the market all the time. You may get lucky a few times. You may sell quicker than your market average times. You may procure a higher price per acre than what you may be a market setter, but not every time. So as you're assessing, okay, I'm buying it here, I'm going to spend this much money. So now my basis is here and the ceiling is here. So there's my margin. That's what I have to work in and be able to win at best case scenario, expected, and worse. So as you're building out your pricing matrix, which happens before you close on the property, you're looking at your top line. You're looking at best case scenario. I hope to sell here, but if I don't, expected is going to be somewhere below that. And then worst case scenario, be able to win in worst case scenario. You know, there's a saying out there, it's never as good or as bad as you think it will be. But oftentimes people think it's always as good.
Right.
Not all the case. So be able to win in those margins.
You know, I think that makes it important. I think that makes a big difference, right? A lot of people want to plan for success. They want to plan for the ideal outcome, the dream. But if you can land in a good spot, even if it's kind of a nightmare, or, you know, not going as you had hoped, that's just better planning. I would imagine that's the difference that all the due diligence on the front end brings is you know, even in a worst case scenario, we're still going to be okay. We're still going to make out the way we need to not have this become, you know, actually a nightmare.
Yeah, it's just a prudent thing to do as you're assessing whether or not you should buy the property. Is okay if we spend the money, even in a worst case scenario, are we going to be okay? And so that it's just a prudent thought to have in the early days of assessing what you should do. And listen, on the spend part of it, you don't have to do it all. And I think that's a big thing that people miss too. Is let's say if I got a blank slate ranch and it needs everything, and somebody comes to me and says, "Okay, what can I spend to get the best return on my money?" And what are the first kind of things I should spend money on? Well, first thing that comes to mind is showings, and you're probably like, "What do showings have to do with improving the value of my place?" Well, if you got terrible internal roads or none, and your goal is to sell the property and to another buyer, let's make it more showable. Let's make it more accessible. So let's spend the money and I don't have to build highways to the property, but let's make it better. So that way, when you're bringing on a new buyer to see the value of the property, they're actually able to see the property for one. They're able to get through in and out and with comfort for the most part. So accessibility is a big deal. And so showings are a big deal. So make it showable. The next thing is water. Water is life. And so I'm not talking like we need to add a river or improve the stream. Ponds are great. You know, at a minimum, a bunch of ponds or some ponds hugely, massively improve the property and its value, not only for just aesthetic, but for the wildlife and all the benefits that water brings to a property. So if we've got a whole gambit of different things we want to do to the property, we want new fences, we want infrastructure, we want all these things, but you're like, what are the immediate important things that I could spend money on that I'll get the best return on? I would initially say those two things. And then kind of lastly, do the things that you wish sellers would have done for you when you were buying the property. So again, going back to our diligence list and our onboarding process and identifying all the things the buyers will be looking for and then some, and then doing those things up front, return the favor. You know, when you're bringing your product onto the market after you've diligenced it and you had to go through the headache and the struggle of, you know, waiting until you were under contract to even start diligencing some of these items and not really getting things, having to spend money to go discover the things instead of just spending the money to resolve the things that you discovered, provide those to the buyer up front. Do the home inspections, do the phase one, do the survey, do an appraisal. Like the value that it brings for you when you're looking to assess whether or not you should buy the property, do those things for the next person on your own place.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, all you're doing is making that transaction easier for the other side. You're making it easier for them to walk in, know exactly what's there, know what the pain points are, what the opportunities are. And I mean, it's any time in business, you can make something easier for someone. it's going to be a smoother transaction.
That's a value add.
Yeah.
That's a value add. And so, those are principally kind of the initial things. I mean, there's a lot more to it than that, but I would say, as you're considering a ranch as an investment, it's what the Navy SEALs, there's a saying, and I'm going to have a Navy SEAL comment on this video and say that's not the case, but what I was told anyways, is they have a saying, and it's called plan the dive, dive the plan.